Deep inside the golden grasslands of Africa, there lives a lion unlike any other. His name is Simbha, a name that echoes through the wild like thunder. From the very first roar, you can feel his power, his courage, and his story that is bigger than life itself. Today we dive deep into the untold story of Simbha the lion, a journey filled with struggle, triumph, and a legacy that will inspire you. Simbha was not born a king. He came into the world as a small, fragile cub in the middle of the savannah. The nights were cold, and the dangers were everywhere. Hyenas, leopards, and even other lions waiting for a chance to strike. But what made Simbha different was the fire in his eyes, a spark that showed he was destined for greatness. From the very beginning, Simbha faced challenges that would break most animals. His father, a mighty lion, was the leader of the pride, but one night a rival lion attacked. The fight was brutal, the roars echoed across the plains, and by dawn, Simbha's father was gone. This moment changed everything. The little cub was now left to grow up in a world full of enemies. But the wild has its own way of teaching strength. Simbha learned to survive, not just by hiding, but by observing. He watched the hunters, he studied the movements of the wind, and he listened to the calls of the night. Every lesson made him sharper, stronger, and more ready to one day take his place among the giants of the savannah. What makes Simbha's story so powerful is not just his strength but his heart. Even as a young lion, he cared for his pride. He protected his mother, he played with his siblings, and he always stood tall against fear. His courage became a light for others, showing that even in the darkest nights, hope can roar louder than fear. As Simbha grew, so did his reputation. Other animals began to notice him: the elephants, the zebras, even the cunning hyenas. They could sense that this lion was not ordinary. His roar began to shake the ground, and his golden mane started to shine under the African sun. Step by step, the cub, who was once vulnerable, became a leader in the making. But becoming king of the wild is never easy. Simbha had to prove himself not just through battles but through wisdom. He had to learn when to fight and when to walk away, when to roar and when to stay silent. The savannah does not crown a king as a lion, it must be earned with scars, sweat, and sacrifice. One of Simbha's greatest tests came when a group of hyenas invaded his territory. They outnumbered him, their teeth sharp, their eyes glowing in the night. Most lions would have fled, but not Simbha. He stood his ground, his roar echoing so loudly that even the stars seemed to listen. That night, he showed the world that true power comes from within. The story of Simbha is not just about survival, it is about destiny. Every step he took, every battle he fought, every scar he earned was shaping him into the king he was meant to be. The plains whispered his name, and the skies seemed to roar with him. This was no ordinary lion, this was the symbol of courage, strength, and leadership. And as the sun rises over the African horizon, you can still imagine Simbha standing tall on a rock, his mane flowing in the wind, his eyes watching over his kingdom. His roar echoes far and wide, telling every creature that he is here, he is strong, and he is forever the heart of the wild. Simbha's journey did not stop after he claimed his place in the pride. In fact, it was just the beginning of a greater chapter. With power comes responsibility, and Simbha carried the weight of his pride with honor. Every morning before the sun painted the skies orange and red, he would rise and walk through the grasslands, checking every corner of his territory, making sure his family was safe. But the savannah is always full of tests. One dry season came, and with it, hunger and thirst swept across the land. Water holes dried up, grass turned to dust, and animals began to weaken. For the first time, Simbha was not fighting an enemy with claws and teeth. He was fighting nature itself. The survival of his pride depended on his ability to lead them to food and water. During these harsh days, Simbha's wisdom shined more than his strength. Instead of waiting for rain, he followed the migration paths of zebras and wildebeest, guiding his pride across dangerous lands. The journey was long, filled with exhaustion and hidden predators, but Simbha never gave up. His leadership gave his pride the courage to keep moving, step after step, until they reached a river where life still thrived. This moment became a turning point in Simbha's story. Other animals began to see him not just as a predator, but as a protector of balance. Even elephants bowed their heads when they saw him pass, as if they respected the lion who stood for more than just survival. Simbha became a living legend, a name whispered with awe across the plains. But greatness always attracts challenges. A younger lion, fierce and hungry for power, entered Simba's land. This lion was strong, bold, and eager to take the throne. The savanna held its breath as the two lions faced each other under the blazing sun. Their roars shook the earth. Their fight was brutal, and every strike told a story of strength, pride, and destiny. The battle lasted for hours, but in the end, Simba's courage and wisdom proved stronger than raw strength. With one final roar, he sent the challenger fleeing into the horizon. This victory was not just a win for Simbha, it was a message to the entire savanna that the true king cannot be defeated by greed or ambition. After this battle, Simbha carried himself differently. He was no longer just a lion with power, he was a king with purpose. He knew that every decision he made shaped the future of his pride and the balance of the land. His leadership became a story of respect, teaching even the fiercest predators that true kings are not born from fear, but from honor. Simba's story also reminds us that even kings face loneliness. Many nights he would sit on a high rock, looking at the stars, listening to the whispers of the wind. Perhaps he thought of his father, the great lion who had fallen. Perhaps he thought of the cub he once was, small and afraid. These quiet moments showed that even the strongest hearts carry memories, pain, and dreams. Despite all the struggles, Simbha never lost his roar. It became the heartbeat of the savanna. Every creature knew when his roar rolled through the land, they were safe. His presence was a shield, and his voice was a promise that the wild would always remain free and powerful. And so Simbha grew not just as a lion, but as a symbol of survival, courage, leadership, and legacy. His journey teaches us that no matter how small we start, no matter how many battles we face, destiny waits for those who dare to rise and roar against the odds. Years passed and Simba's mane grew darker and fuller, a crown of fire under the African sun. His pride flourished, his cubs grew strong, and the land he ruled was filled with life. The rivers flowed again, the grass swayed tall, and the skies seemed clearer, as if nature itself respected the lion who carried balance in his heart. But time is a hunter, and even the strongest lions cannot outrun it forever. Simbha began to slow down. His battles had left scars across his body, and though he still roared with power, his steps became heavier. Yet his spirit never broke. His pride still looked to him with love and trust, knowing their king had given them everything. One evening, as the golden sunset bathed the savanna, Simbha climbed the highest rock. His pride gathered around him, watching silently. His eyes, once fierce with fire, now shined with wisdom and peace. He looked over his kingdom one last time, taking in the beauty of the land he had protected all his life. That night, the stars seemed brighter. The savanna grew still, as if the entire world paused to honor him. Simba's final roar echoed across the plains, a sound so powerful it seemed to reach the heavens. The animals of the land listened in silence, for they knew a legend was leaving the earth, but his spirit would remain forever. Though Simbha was gone, his story did not end. His cubs carried his blood, his pride carried his teachings, and the land carried his memory. Every roar of a young lion in the savanna was a reminder of Simba's strength, his courage, and his unbreakable will to lead with honor. Even today, when the winds rush through the tall grass, it is said you can hear Simba's spirit. His voice whispers to the wild, telling every creature that no challenge is too great, no fear too strong, and no dream too far. His legend has become part of the savanna's heartbeat. Simba's life shows us that true kings are not made by crowns or thrones. They are made by sacrifice, wisdom, and the courage to protect what matters most. His journey is a story of rising from pain, turning scars into strength, and becoming more than just a lion, becoming a symbol of the wild itself. Generations of lions after Simbha still walk the plains, but none are ever spoken of with the same reverence. He is remembered not only as a ruler, but as a guardian of life. His name is told in stories, sung in roars, and carried by the wind. Simbha, the lion, will never be forgotten. And so, when the sun rises over Africa and paints the skies in shades of fire, remember the lion who once stood tall, who once roared so loud that the earth itself trembled. Remember the cub who became a king, the fighter who became a legend, the lion whose spirit still walks the land. Remember Simbha, because in the heart of every roar, in the strength of every lion, and in the endless beauty of the savanna, Simba's story lives on forever.